Small Business Development Job Creation Committee. I want to welcome everyone to the first meeting this term, this new term. And real quickly, before we take up our first item of business, which is the adoption of our committee rules, I'm just going to let everyone go down and introduce themselves. I know we have some returning members and we have some new members, but we'll start at the end. What number? Number 29.
State Representative Steve Carvin, not on. I was top left from the second district as part of Walker, Whitfield County, Northwest Georgia.
Right. David Clark, I'm from Buford, Georgia. I have Buford, Sugar Hill, and a little bit of Swanee, and it's District 98. I'm a new state representative.
Wes Cantrell, well, it's on for me. New representative as well, House District 22, representing Woodstock, Ball Ground, Macedonia, a lot of big cities up in Cherokee County, and a little bit of Forsyth, a little bit of Fulton.
23. Yes, I'm Representative John Deffenbaum from District 1, the best district, of course, in the state. Anyway, that's in the northwest corner. I border Tennessee and Alabama. And some of you may know it as the great state of Dade and Walker County.
I'm Darshine Kendrick. I represent House District 93, which is East DeKalb and South Gwinnett counties.
I'm John Peasold, District 133, North Columbus, all the way up through Harris and Troup counties, and I am a discount hamburger salesman by trade.
Interesting.
John, I thought you had the Big Mac Family Steakhouse. What are you talking about? I'm Tom Kirby, District 114, mostly the Loganville area, parts of Walton, Gwinnett, Barrow, and Rockdale County.
Valencia Stovall, House District 74 in Clayton County.
Roger Bruce, District 61, South Fulton County, Douglas County, and Cobb County. And they all have everything in common with each other.
Bless your heart. And I think Representative Rachel just came in. Paulette, you want to introduce yourself and your district? What number? What number? All right.
Hello, can you? Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Paulette from Paulding, and I represent District 19, which is the eastern side of Paulding County that borders Cobb.
And I'm David Knight. I represent District 130, which is from Griffin, Georgia, but it's parts of Spalding, Lamar, and Henry County. So with that, I want to welcome the new members. First item of business will be just the housekeeping and the adoption of the rules. If you'll look to the inside of your folders, the inside of the folder, you'll see the rules. These were the rules that we adopted last term. So no changes, even though we have found an error that I think Representative Peasold is going to speak to in a second. But with that, Representative Peasold, would you want to look the error that we found? Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The error is on line 1. A quorum for the committee shall be 5 members, not 6. So we're going to strike 6 and write out the word 5 in its place.
All right. Is there any discussion on that? Any problem? Again, I think it was a typographical error. So with that,
we can blame the Senate for that, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, probably. With that, Representative Sharper, you just came in. You want to introduce yourself, and we were just introducing ourselves, and for everyone to know where we're from.
My name is Dexter Sharper. I'm state representative, of course, from Valdosta, Georgia, and I've been a small business owner and entrepreneur since I was 7 years old. So,
all right. I might add, he's got a great voice too.
Thank you.
With that, I hear any motion from the floor, or I mean from the committee on the rules? So move.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting the committee rules with the fix of the word 5 instead of 6, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right, does pass. Well, thank you. We're actually going to take up business today, and I'm going to turn this over to Chairman Pizzold to let him take. Okay, I'm going to turn this over to you, Chairman Pizzold, to hear this, and because this is actually my bill, and we're going to present. As this is some cleanup from the CPA bill last year, we've got several members here today to present, not only myself, but several members of our CPA caucus. I'm proud to say we're gaining a few members here, as well as we've got our chairman of the State Board of Accountancy, Julian Deal, here. We've got our new director, Alan, raise your hand. All right, so but with that, I'm going to turn this over, and I'm going to go to the table, if you will, and start the presenting.
Chairman Knight, welcome to Small Business Development. Hope you're having a wonderful day, sir. And you are here to present House Bill 246.
I am. Are we on here, Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I'm gonna sort of give a little bit of overview, but I'm on the director of our state accounting office, Alan Skelton, is here. I'll ask him to join me if with your permission.
Absolutely, that'd be great.
Guys, as many of the members remember from last year, we moved the State Board of Accountancy, the Secretary of State's office, up under the State Department of Accounting. That's Alan's. He's the executive director, and what we're going to talk about today is some cleanup language. It was a huge task last year. We'd gotten into issues of 40 years worth of code in that section, the old section, a lot of cleanup, plus trying to tell a bunch of attorneys what some CPAs did was also, it was a task, let's put it that way. But for the most part, we got this right. But there were several issues that popped up as we went through the process, and afterwards, I don't know if y'all are familiar with the GORC process, which is in code. That's a process in which I'm going to let Alan maybe elaborate a little bit, but all state boards, if you want to become a new board or move or have changes, have to go through that process. And we went through the process. We had an issue that popped up there, and then we also had, when we finally went to promulgate the rules up under the new code, the AG's office said, hey, you guys left some things over here in the old Title 43, which is where it used to sit, and we need to bring these things forward. And then the third item, there were 2 or 3 definition issues that we wanted to catch up here, and that's basically what this cleanup bill does. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to turn it over to the director here and let him maybe give you a little more history about that first topic that we discussed.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the committee. I appreciate being here. My name is Alan Skelton. I'm the State Accounting Officer for the state of Georgia. As Representative Knight mentioned, when we got to GORC, it's a regulatory body. It looks at all regulated industries and determines whether or not where they should sit and how they should be housed. We got to the very, very end, and after both the House and the Senate had passed HB 291 to pass it and to move it, a question came up in the very last GORC hearing, and the question was essentially this: we had set up the agency to whereby the State Board of Accountancy was a division of SAL. That in itself sounds benign. The board regulates all CPAs. The board would therefore regulate our state auditor. Our state auditor would then audit me when I'm doing the state's financials. That creates, at least for the state auditor, at least in his mind, at least a perception of there being a lack of independence. We can all argue that the auditor works for the legislative branch, I work for the executive branch. By definition, by statute, there's not an independence issue. But the two things that CPAs work under is this idea of independence in fact and independence in perception. And the state auditor brought the idea there could be a perception issue. We actually in the abundance of caution said, well, the bill as it exists for the financial reporting cycle last summer is fine, but we will need to come back and fix that. The simplest fix of that would be, rather than be a division of SAO, they're just attached to SAO. As you know, an attached agency is very different than a division of agency. The governor wrote an executive order right after session was over, which basically did that. He basically moved the State Board of Accountancy from being a division of SAO to being attached to SAO. From a support standpoint, doesn't change anything. My job is to support the board, provide background for the board, provide administration for the board. We've done that. We'll continue to do that. We'll continue that as requested. The big thing it does is I don't hire and fire the executive director or members of the board, which eliminates that perceived independence issue. So the main thing that I'm going to speak to in the bill is just the cleanup you'll see in the bill where it talks about removing the board from being a division of SAO to being attached to SAO. And simply, like I said, it's just to be very conservative and to eliminate any perception there's an independent issue between me and the state auditor. And I'll let everybody else speak to the other provisions. I'll stop for questions they have. But
Does anybody have any questions? I don't see any. Just to clarify, this establishes the State Board of Accountancy as an independent agency within the State Accounting Office.
It becomes a board attached to the State Accounting Office rather than a division of the State Accounting Office.
Great. Thank you.
Chairman, I apologize. I forgot my copy of my bill in that folder. May I get it? Because I want to go through. Real quick, Mr. Chairman, as our second presenter, second member of the CPA caucus comes up, Howard, if you'll come up here, I'm going to go over real quick. Because I do want this. I want everybody to see what's in the bill. This is serious stuff. If you look in reference to Mr. Skelton's reference to the independence, if you'll look on lines 39 through 40. I'm just going to go over in the bill where those are the items that are changed, and you may want to mark them. But 39 through 40, again, he is the accounting officer. Okay, it's substituting him board. Again, that's the executive fix. Lines 71 through 82. Again, that's as he had mentioned, the attachment for the attached agency for administrative purposes only. And then again, you will see this reoccurring language where striking state accounting officer and inserting board. Again, that's reflecting the executive fix. And with the approval of the state accounting officer, that's it's the board only. Lines 98. Again, taking the state accounting officer out. It's the board only. 102, same thing, accounting officer, board. Line 117, again, the same word, striking state accounting officer, inserting board. And then lines 468 through 471. Again, that's self-explanatory, striking that it's a division of, and that the state accounting officer will appoint the director. Okay, so those are, as I said, that was sort of the first bucket or the first issue that we wanted to take care of. Are there any questions, Mr. Chairman? I'd be happy to answer any questions about this.
I don't see any questions lit up.
The second one, and I'm going to turn this over to my colleague, Representative Mosby. This is the second bucket we were talking about, and these are the issues that the AG, who is obviously the counsel for the state board, brought up of items that when we picked it up from the Secretary of State's, a bucket over here in Title 43 and put it in our section, these are things that we either didn't get right or we needed to go back and clarify, or we simply, in some cases, forgot to pick up that enabling legislation by which we had in the former section. So with that, Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And as Chairman Knight said, a lot of this has to do with the enforcement function of the State Board of Accountancy. So we're going to start with lines 16 through 18. The definition of state was made correctly, but it seemed confusing, so we actually, Legislative Council advised us to make this change to make it clearer in the statute. The next section, lines 87 through 91. This language on the State Board being able to create committees was omitted from House Bill 291 last year, and it's just adding it back. It was already in statute, and we're, as Chairman Knight said, we're moving it back under the State Board of Accountancy. Lines 107 through 110. This language removes the language on the foreign accountant. There are only 3 in the state of Georgia currently right now. We're going to move those 3 to formally be CPAs in the state, so we can remove this language out of the statute. Lines 124, the clear and convincing language is a little too strict. We're going under the preponderance of language. This is more legalese, but it makes this consistent with how language is written in statute today. Lines 135 through 149. This language will grandfather again the foreign accountants as CPAs under this statute. Again, there are only 3 left in the state, so we're only moving 3 to become CPAs. And we're going to be making this correction throughout this this bill. So in lines 180, the foreign accountant is also removed again from the statute. Same thing in lines 190. It's also removed the foreign accountant verbiage. Now we go to lines 220 through 227. Again, this is almost the crux of our ability to be able to govern our profession. And it allows the board to do the discipline and corrective action for our colleagues who decide to not be above board in how they are practicing in this profession. It gives the board latitude to be able to grant, to refuse a license or revoke a license. And strangely enough, that language didn't transfer over when we made the change to the law last year. So we're just making sure that this is under the State Board of Accountancy. Lines 228 through 311. This lists all the reasons for why somebody's license could be revoked, suspended, or refused, and the disciplinary actions taken against CPAs. And there are a lot of things here, but this gives the Board of Accountancy the ability to be able to actually police the profession. Currently, well, not currently, but prior to us making this change, a lot of these violations went unchecked because the way that it was set up under the Secretary of State didn't give the board the ability to really go after these violators, and now we have the teeth to make this happen. Lines 330 to 342 add specific sanctions that the board can impose. They're pulled directly from Title 43. Lines 354 through 358 gives the board some leeway in making some decisions. Again, this is pulled verbatim from Title 43. Adds this back to the accountancy statute. Again, this was allowed under the Secretary of State when we made the change last year. These things are just cleanup language to ensure that it follows the profession. Lines 361 through 375, this is a new code section being added. It covers the ability of the board to issue cease and desist orders and fine those who violate said orders. These pieces are added back to the accountancy statute from Title 43 to give them the ability that they had previously in the statute. Lines 379 through 383, this is also some cleanup language that are giving individuals the ability to actually ask for the questions from the CPA exam before the exam. Now, we don't want to give them that. Chairman Knight spent a lot of time studying for the exam without having a chance, so we don't want to give people.
We passed.
We did pass, though. We did pass. And so this actually...
Did you pass on the first try?
We don't want... We can't discuss that in...
I was informed by my bride that it was very cumbersome.
All right, so lines 392 through 393, again, the foreign accountant languages be removed. The same in lines 404 through 408, the foreign accountant language verbiage is removed. Again, in 416 and 420, same language. And also in 453 through 454.
Representative Mosby,
Yes.
you said that there's only 3 foreign accountants
That is
in the
correct.
state.
That's correct.
You got to break it down for me. What is
Who
a foreign?
are they?
Yeah, what are they? My wife is a recovering CPA, and I did not get any of her knowledge by osmosis, unfortunately. So
Yeah,
that's why it struck from the code, because nobody knows what it is.
It's like we used to have, what was it, certified accountants? Or
well, those
accountants?
registered
accountants.
and
And again, the few that were remaining were grandfathered in up under the statute for CPA, but there's no mechanism going forward for a registered accountant.
well,
And
I think
same thing here with a foreign
the
accountant.
committee's eyes are glazing over as you speak. So. With all due respect, of course.
basically we're making the CPA credential
Got it.
credential.
Okay, that makes sense.
All right. And with that, our other member of the CPA caucus has the information around a test that they can bring.
Any questions while we see that?
Listen, you guys are the experts.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I want to, if you'll, I understand Senator Michael Williams just showed up, another recovering CPA.
Our condolences.
Yeah, our Senator House, I think he will probably end up carrying this, and he agrees to in the Senate, but I want to introduce him to the committee.
Well, welcome.
Thank you. David, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I get to talk to you about attest functions. Basically what we're trying to do is update the accountancy statute definition of attest to reflect the most recently adopted version of the Uniform Accountancy Act. So through this process and by adding the definition of report to the statute, unlicensed individuals will not be legally allowed to imply assurances to organizations on their financial statements or financial reports while using the language of a CPA professional. This loophole needs to be closed in order to protect the general public from default of allowing unlicensed individuals to imply that these assurances using the CPA language. And so I'll walk through about 8 changes that we're looking at making to reflect that. On lines 54 to 66, the definition of report is going to be added to the accountancy statute. And this is a new definition and updates the profession's newly adopted verbiage around definition of attest. Report is the work product of a CPA puts out using specific language that makes it an attestation. This definition prohibits others from using the CPA language as outlined in SARS if they are unlicensed. And then if you flip to page 157, while I have you captivated here.
You certainly do.
I can see. I'm sure the board is lighting up right now. But Lines 157 and 164, these lines are related to the definition of attest fixes, and report is now covered in definitions, and the mention of subparagraph E, you'll see it's being added. It was left out last year by clerical error, so we're adding that in there. Then if you flip to lines 422 to 423,
I'm sorry, could you repeat those last lines?
422 to 423.
Okay.
What we're doing here is adding the word report into statute to more actively reflect the language in the Uniform Accountancy Act, attest, definition, related fix. And then in 424 to 425, we've added the words or attested to more actively reflect the language in the UAA. Lines 428, we will add the word report in the statute to more actively reflect the language in the Uniform Accountancy Act as well. And then if you go down further on that page to line 438, that's 438, you add the word report for the same exact reason, to get more in line with UAA. And then a little further down, line 440, we add the words or attested. And then the last change on line 443, we add the word report in the statute to more actively reflect the language as well. And those are the changes that we're making regarding the definition of a test. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Anyone have any questions for, we've got 16 and 18. Let's go with 16 first.
All right, thank you all. I'm not an accountant, but I was wondering how would this bill affect the tax companies that we now see opening up now that it's tax season? Will this kind of help us as citizens assure that if someone says that they're a CPA, that this kind of sets them aside from, like I said, the tax companies that are now popping up in the communities?
Yeah, it's not going to stop your the people that are just doing taxes, as long as they don't hold themselves out to be a CPA or use that language of a CPA. But if you have an aunt or uncle who prepares taxes, they'll still be able to do that under this bill. There's plenty of places for them to do that.
Number 18.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You mentioned there's only 3 foreign accountants. We don't really define it, and it's not defined in the bill. We're sure we're not going to have that sneak up somewhere else in code? I mean, this is, we've got, when you get attorneys involved, when they say a state other than Georgia is different than or a state other than Georgia, it makes me wonder, make sure we're covering our base. Do you feel comfortable that that's not needing to be defined, what that is anywhere in here?
Great question, and with the chair's permission, Julian, do you want to speak to that, or Don? We've got our chairman of our state board here. He may be able to, I don't even know if there's not really any new foreign accountants, and this is I think something that's been well probably for most of us, young guys were here, but our chairman may be able to answer your question in more detail.
This is not a direct answer, but many of you may remember a number of years ago we had registered public accountants, RPAs. We got down to under 20 with them, and we did the same exact thing to try to get one class of a CPA. So we grandfathered in, and it got down to a small number. That's been years ago. We're trying to do the same thing now, so that we have one CPA definition.
Okay.
And maybe to comfort, there are no more foreign accountants. I mean, there's not a mechanism by which
You can't be added into that
in other
class.
words, it's an extinct breed, so to speak. When the last ones pass away, that's it.
And the new ones coming in for them, they have the ability to take the exam and become CPAs just like anyone else.
Okay.
Am I correct to assume that if one is not current on their continuing education, they cannot consider themselves a CPA, or?
You would probably get in trouble.
Okay.
Trouble with the board.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Yes. So that is one of our requirements. Is continuing education.
We do not have any more questions. Anyone else? Any public comments? All right. if we don't have any more discussion, I'd like to entertain a motion. There you
Mr.
go.
Chairman, I move we do pass.
Do we have a second? We have multiple seconds. All right, all in favor? Anyone opposed?
Well, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, I sincerely appreciate this. This is a very serious matter. Not only are all your CPAs really, a lot of them are small businesses, but more so, this is a profession that talks the language of all business. And the integrity of this profession, the way I like to say self-governs, it makes sure that we're holding ourselves to the highest standards is very important, because if you can't trust us, then we're in trouble, and our whole business, all of the businesses will fall, because we represent and talk the business language of all folks. So thank you very much for really going through this bill, and I sincerely appreciate the committee's time.
Thank you for the work on this. How do I adjourn? Do I just say we're adjourned? All right, we're adjourned, everyone. Have a lovely day.